Welcome back, car enthusiasts. The 1960s was an era of innovation and style in the automotive world. But not every car from that decade was a winner. In fact, some were downright disastrous. Today, we're counting down the 10 dumbest and worst cars in America from the 1960s that will leave you scratching your head. You won't believe these cars actually existed. Let's get into it. First on our list is the 1961 Ford Taunus 17M, a vehicle that stands out more for its shortcomings than its successes, especially when viewed through the lens of the American automotive market. Originally designed to cater to European tastes, the Taunus 17M was Ford's attempt to gain a foothold in the competitive European market. However, when the car made its way to the United States, it became clear that what worked in Europe didn't necessarily translate to success across the Atlantic. The Ford Taunus 17M was part of Ford's European lineup, designed to appeal to drivers who favored smaller, more economical cars over the larger, more powerful vehicles that were popular in the United States at the time. In Europe, the Taunus 17M was considered a mid-size family car, offering practicality and reliability. However, when it was introduced to the American market, it faced an uphill battle in winning over consumers who were accustomed to the flashier, more powerful automobiles of the early 1960s. One of the most glaring issues with the Taunus 17M was its design. The car featured a somewhat awkward and boxy exterior that lacked the sleek lines and bold styling that were the hallmarks of American cars during that era. Its proportions seemed out of sync with the prevailing trends, and the overall design didn't have the visual appeal needed to attract American buyers. The Taunus 17M's styling was conservative, with a plain grille and uninspired bodywork that did little to make it stand out in a crowded market. In an era when car design was as much about making a statement as it was about function, the Taunus 17M simply didn't resonate with American consumers. Performance was another area where the Ford Taunus 17M fell short. The car was equipped with a modest engine that was sufficient for European driving conditions, but felt underpowered by American standards. The 1.5-liter and 1.7-liter inline-4 engines offered adequate fuel efficiency, but they lacked the power and acceleration that American drivers expected. The car's performance was sluggish, especially when compared to the larger, more powerful V8 engines that dominated the American market at the time. This lack of power made the Taunus 17M feel out of place on American roads, where speed and performance were highly valued. The driving experience in the Taunus 17M was further hampered by its handling and ride quality. While the car was designed to be nimble and easy to maneuver on the narrower, winding roads of Europe, it struggled to provide a smooth and comfortable ride on the broader, faster highways of the United States. The car's suspension and chassis were not well suited to the American driving environment, resulting in a ride that felt rough and uninspiring. This, coupled with its lackluster acceleration, made the Taunus 17M a tough sell to American buyers who were used to a more refined driving experience. In addition to its design and performance issues, the Ford Taunus 17M also faced a significant challenge in terms of brand perception. In the United States, Ford was known for producing powerful, stylish cars that embodied the spirit of American automotive engineering. The Taunus 17M, however, didn't fit this image. It was seen as an oddity, an import that didn't align with the expectations and desires of American car buyers. This disconnect made it difficult for the Taunus 17M to gain traction in the market, and it was quickly overshadowed by other vehicles that better matched the tastes of the time. The legacy of the 1961 Ford Taunus 17M in the United States is one of missed opportunities and cultural disconnects. It serves as a reminder that success in one market doesn't always translate to success in another, especially when consumer preferences and expectations are so vastly different. While the Taunus 17M may have found its niche in Europe, in America, it is remembered as one of the biggest flops of the early 1960s. A car that failed to capture the imagination or enthusiasm of the American public. In conclusion, the 1961 Ford Taunus 17M is a classic example of how a car designed with one market in mind can struggle to find its footing in another. With its awkward design, underwhelming performance, and a lack of the flair that Americans had come to expect from their vehicles, The Taunus 17M quickly faded into obscurity on American shores. It remains a cautionary tale for automakers about the importance of understanding and adapting to the specific needs and desires of different markets. Next up is the 1962 Dodge Dart, a car that Dodge envisioned as a practical and reliable choice for American families, but ultimately turned out to be a source of frustration for many owners. The Dodge Dart, introduced in the early 1960s, was supposed to be a key player in Dodge's lineup, offering a blend of economy, comfort, and performance. However, the reality of the 1962 Dart was far less promising, as a combination of uninspired design and persistent mechanical problems marred its reputation. Dodge attempted to position the Dart as a versatile family vehicle, one that could cater to a wide range of needs, from daily commuting to weekend road trips. The car's marketing highlighted its spacious interior, affordability, and dependability, all attributes that were highly valued by consumers at the time. The Dart was available in a variety of body styles, including sedans, station wagons, and hardtops, allowing customers to choose a model that best suited their needs. On paper, the Dart seemed like a well-rounded, practical car that could easily fit into the lives of American families. However, the Dart's design failed to capture the imagination of buyers. The 1962 model year saw the Dart take on a more boxy, angular appearance, which was a stark contrast to the sleeker, more aerodynamic designs that were becoming popular in the early 1960s. The car's exterior was marked by sharp lines and a squared-off front end, giving it a somewhat utilitarian look that lacked the flair and excitement that consumers were beginning to associate with the American automotive industry. The Dart's styling was functional but uninspired, and it didn't stand out in a crowded market where aesthetics were becoming increasingly important to car buyers. The issues with the 1962 Dodge Dart extended beyond its lackluster design. The car was plagued by a range of mechanical problems that severely undermined its reputation for reliability. One of the most significant issues was with the Dart's engine, which was prone to overheating and other malfunctions. Owners reported frequent breakdowns and costly repairs, which were major inconveniences, especially for a car that was marketed as a dependable family vehicle. The Dart's engine problems were compounded by issues with the transmission, which was known to be unreliable and prone to failure. These mechanical shortcomings led to a growing sense of dissatisfaction among Dart owners, who found themselves dealing with a car that was far from the worry-free experience they had been promised. The Dodge Dart's mechanical problems were not just a nuisance, they also had a serious impact on the car's resale value and overall desirability. As word spread about the Dart's propensity for breakdowns, potential buyers became wary of purchasing a car that might turn into a money pit. This loss of consumer confidence contributed to the Dart's decline in popularity, as buyers opted for other vehicles that offered more reliable performance and better long-term value. Despite Dodge's efforts to market the Dart as a family-friendly, reliable car, it quickly became clear that the 1962 model had missed the mark. The combination of uninspired design and persistent mechanical issues meant that the Dart failed to live up to its potential. While Dodge did make improvements to the Dart in subsequent years, the damage to its reputation had already been done, and the 1962 model remains a cautionary tale of how a promising vehicle can fall short when execution doesn't match expectations. In the end, the 1962 Dodge Dart serves as a reminder of the challenges that automakers face in delivering a product that meets both the functional and emotional needs of consumers. While the Dart was intended to be a reliable, practical car for the average American family, it ultimately became known for its shortcomings and failed to leave a lasting, positive impression. The Dart's story is one of unrealized potential, where design and mechanical flaws overshadowed what could have been a successful addition to Dodge's lineup. At number 3 is the 1960 Edsel Ranger, a car that represents the final chapter in one of the most infamous automotive failures in history. By the time the 1960 Ranger was released, the Edsel brand was already on life support, struggling to find its footing in a market that had largely rejected it from the start. Unfortunately, the 1960 Ranger did little to reverse the brand's fortunes, and instead became a symbol of Edsel's rapid decline and eventual demise. The Edsel brand, launched by Ford in 1957, was initially conceived as a mid-range offering that would fill the gap between the more affordable Ford models and the higher-end Mercury and Lincoln lines. However, from its very inception, the Edsel line was met with a lukewarm reception from both critics and consumers. A combination of marketing missteps, economic downturns, and a failure to meet the expectations set by Ford led to disappointing sales figures and a growing perception of the Edsel as a failure. The 1960 Edsel Ranger, which was part of the final model year for the brand, was an attempt to streamline the Edsel lineup and make it more appealing to consumers. The Ranger was positioned as the entry-level model, intended to offer buyers a more affordable option within the Edsel range. However, the design of the 1960 Ranger did little to inspire confidence in the brand's future. The car's styling was widely considered unattractive, with particular criticism aimed at its front grille, which had been a point of contention since the Edsel's debut. The grille, often ridiculed for its resemblance to a horse collar, or even worse, failed to resonate with the public, and the 1960 Ranger's version did nothing to improve its reputation. Beyond its design, the 1960 Edsel Ranger was also plagued by issues of reliability and build quality. Consumers who were already skeptical of the Edsel brand had little reason to believe that the Ranger would be any different from its predecessors, which had been criticized for mechanical problems and inconsistent quality control. The Ranger's engines, available in both inline-6 and V8 configurations, were serviceable but unremarkable, and they failed to deliver the kind of performance that might have helped redeem the car in the eyes of buyers. Sales of the 1960 Edsel Ranger were dismal, reflecting the broader decline of the Edsel brand. Despite Ford's efforts to salvage the Edsel name, the writing was on the wall, and the Ranger's poor market performance only hastened the brand's inevitable demise. The Edsel line was officially discontinued in November 1959, just as the 1960 models were hitting showrooms. For many, the 1960 Ranger became emblematic of the entire Edsel debacle. A car that, despite being relatively competent in some respects, was ultimately doomed by its association with a brand that had failed to win over the American public. The legacy of the 1960 Edsel Ranger is closely tied to the broader narrative of the Edsel brand's failure. While the Ranger itself might have been a reasonably functional vehicle, it was burdened by the negative perceptions surrounding the Edsel name and the flaws in its design and execution. The 1960 Ranger was not just the end of a particular model year. It was the final nail in the coffin for the entire Edsel experiment, which had started with great ambition, but ended in one of the most notable failures in automotive history. In conclusion, the 1960 Edsel Ranger stands as a poignant reminder of how even the best-laid plans can go awry in the automotive industry. Despite Ford's considerable resources and efforts, the Edsel brand, and the Ranger in particular, could not overcome the combination of poor design choices, reliability issues, and a market that simply wasn't interested. The 1960 Edsel Ranger was the last in a line of cars that failed to capture the hearts and minds of the American public, leading to the swift and unceremonious end of the Edsel brand. Coming in at number 4 is the 1964 Chevrolet Corvair, a car that remains one of the most controversial vehicles in American automotive history. The Corvair was Chevrolet's bold attempt to create something different, an affordable car with a rear-engine layout that could challenge the conventions of the time. However, despite its innovative design, the Corvair became infamous for its handling issues, particularly after Ralph Nader's book, Unsafe at Any Speed, brought widespread attention to its safety flaws. The ensuing controversy not only damaged the Corvair's reputation, but also had a lasting impact on the automotive industry as a whole. When the Corvair was introduced in 1959 as a 1960 model, it was unlike anything else in the American market. Chevrolet had designed the Corvair with a rear-mounted, air-cooled engine, a layout more commonly associated with European cars like the Volkswagen Beetle. The goal was to offer a small, economical car that could compete with imports while still delivering a unique driving experience. The Corvair's flat-six engine and independent suspension were meant to provide a balance of performance, efficiency, and comfort that would appeal to a wide range of buyers. The 1964 Corvair, part of the first generation of the model, continued with this innovative approach. By this time, the car had undergone several updates, including a larger engine and a stiffer rear suspension, which were intended to improve performance and handling. Chevrolet marketed the Corvair as a versatile vehicle that could serve as both a practical family car and a fun-to-drive compact with sporty characteristics. The Corvair's design was sleek and modern, with clean lines and a relatively spacious interior, making it an attractive option for those looking for something different from the typical American sedan. However, the Corvair's unconventional engineering came with a significant drawback. Its handling characteristics could be unpredictable, particularly in emergency situations. The rear engine layout, combined with a swing-axle rear suspension design, made the car prone to oversteer, especially when the driver made sudden or sharp maneuvers. In such scenarios, the rear end of the car could swing out, leading to loss of control and potentially dangerous accidents. These handling issues were exacerbated by the fact that many drivers were unfamiliar with how to properly handle a rear-engine vehicle, which required different driving techniques compared to front-engine, rear-wheel drive cars. The Corvair's handling problems might have remained a relatively obscure issue, known mainly to a small group of enthusiasts and critics, had it not been for Ralph Nader's landmark book, Unsafe at Any Speed, published in 1965. In the book, Nader devoted an entire chapter to the Corvair, accusing Chevrolet of knowingly selling a car with dangerous handling flaws. He argued that the company had prioritized cost-cutting over safety, putting drivers at risk. The book caused a media sensation and brought the Corvair's safety concerns into the national spotlight, leading to a public outcry and a wave of negative publicity for Chevrolet. The impact of Unsafe at Any Speed on the Corvair's reputation was immediate and devastating. Sales of the Corvair plummeted as consumers became wary of the car's safety, and the model quickly became a symbol of corporate negligence and the broader lack of concern for consumer safety in the automotive industry. Although Chevrolet made several design changes to the Corvair in an attempt to address the handling issues, most notably with the introduction of a fully independent rear suspension in the second-generation models, the damage had already been done. The Corvair's image was irreparably tarnished, and the car never recovered in the marketplace. By 1969, Chevrolet had discontinued the Corvair, ending a tumultuous decade for what had initially been an ambitious and innovative project. The legacy of the Corvair is complex. On one hand, it was a car that pushed the boundaries of automotive design and offered a unique alternative to the standard fare of the time. On the other hand, it became a cautionary tale about the importance of vehicle safety and the potential consequences of cutting corners in engineering. In conclusion, the 1964 Chevrolet Corvair is remembered less for its innovation and more for the controversy that surrounded it. The car's handling issues, brought to light by Ralph Nader's Unsafe at Any Speed, led to a decline in sales and cemented the Corvair's place in automotive history as a notorious example of design flaws and corporate oversight. Despite its place in history as a pioneer of the rear-engine layout in American cars, the Corvair is most often recalled as a symbol of what can go wrong when safety is compromised in the pursuit of innovation. Next is the 1965 AMC Marlin, a car that aimed to blend the excitement of a sports car with the practicality of a family vehicle, but ultimately struggled to deliver on either front. The Marlin was introduced by American Motors Corporation at a time when the automotive market was becoming increasingly segmented, with manufacturers looking to cater to more specific consumer needs. AMC hoped that the Marlin's unique design and positioning would allow it to carve out a niche in this competitive landscape. Unfortunately, the Marlin's attempts to straddle the line between sports car and family sedan left it with an identity crisis that led to its downfall. The 1965 Marlin was AMC's foray into the burgeoning personal luxury car segment, which had been popularized by models like the Ford Thunderbird. What set the Marlin apart from other cars of the time was its fastback design, a sweeping, elongated roofline that gave the car a distinctive, sleek profile. This was a bold departure from the more conservative designs typically associated with AMC, which had built its reputation on producing reliable, affordable vehicles. The fastback look was intended to appeal to younger buyers who were looking for something stylish and sporty, but still practical enough to accommodate their daily needs. However, while the Marlin's design certainly stood out, its performance failed to live up to its sporty appearance. Unlike the nimble sports cars it was partially modeled after, the Marlin was built on the platform of the AMC Rambler Classic, a mid-size sedan that was larger and heavier than most sports cars of the time. As a result, the Marlin's handling was more akin to that of a family car than a true sports car. The extra weight and size made the Marlin sluggish on the road, and it lacked the responsive handling and acceleration that driving enthusiasts craved. Under the hood, the Marlin was offered with a range of engines, from an inline-6 to a V8, but even the more powerful V8 versions struggled to overcome the car's heft. This lack of performance left many buyers disappointed, particularly those who had been drawn in by the car's aggressive styling and expected a driving experience to match. The Marlin's ride quality was more comfortable than sporty, which, while suitable for long drives with the family, did little to satisfy those looking for a more exhilarating drive. The Marlin's issues extended beyond its performance. Its interior, though roomy and well-appointed, didn't quite capture the luxury vibe AMC was aiming for, and it lacked some of the high-end features that buyers in the personal luxury segment expected. Additionally, the Marlin's size made it less practical as a daily driver in urban environments, where smaller, more maneuverable cars were becoming increasingly popular. One of the Marlin's biggest challenges was its confused identity. AMC's marketing struggled to clearly define who the Marlin was for. Was it a stylish sports car for young, affluent buyers, or a practical family vehicle with a flair for design? This lack of focus in the car's positioning meant that it didn't resonate strongly with either target audience. Enthusiasts found it lacking in performance, while families saw it as too unconventional and expensive compared to more traditional sedans. As a result, the Marlin was a commercial failure. Sales were disappointing, and the car failed to achieve the impact AMC had hoped for. By 1967, after just 3 years in production, the Marlin was discontinued. Today, it is largely forgotten, overshadowed by the more successful and iconic cars of the era. The Marlin remains a curious footnote in automotive history, a car that took a bold design risk, but ultimately couldn't overcome its fundamental flaws. In retrospect, the 1965 AMC Marlin serves as an example of how even the most innovative ideas can fall flat if they fail to meet the needs and expectations of the market. Its striking fastback design was ahead of its time, but without the performance or clear purpose to back it up, the Marlin couldn't find its footing in a crowded marketplace. While it has its place among classic car enthusiasts today, the Marlin is remembered more for its missed opportunities than its successes. At number 6 is the 1963 Mercury Comet Villager, a vehicle that struggled to find its footing in the competitive station wagon market of the early 1960s. The Comet Villager was Mercury's attempt to capitalize on the growing popularity of station wagons, aiming to provide a practical yet stylish option for families. However, despite these intentions, the Comet Villager fell short in several key areas, leading to its rapid decline in popularity and eventual obscurity. The Mercury Comet had originally been introduced in 1960 as a compact car, positioned just below Mercury's larger models. It was designed to be an affordable, practical vehicle for the average American family, and it found moderate success in this role. The Villager variant, which debuted in 1962, was the station wagon version of the Comet, intended to combine the utility of a wagon with the Comet's compact design. By 1963, the Villager had undergone some updates, but these changes were not enough to distinguish it in a crowded market. One of the primary issues with the 1963 Comet Villager was its lackluster performance. The car was powered by a modest inline-6 engine, which, while adequate for basic transportation, lacked the power and responsiveness that buyers were beginning to expect from their vehicles, even in the station wagon segment. The engine struggled to move the vehicle's relatively heavy body, making the Comet Villager sluggish on the road, particularly when loaded with passengers or cargo. This lack of power made it difficult for the Villager to compete with other station wagons that offered more robust engines and better overall performance. In terms of design, the 1963 Comet Villager was equally uninspired. While Mercury attempted to give the car a sleek and modern look, the end result was a vehicle that lacked the visual appeal of its competitors. The Villager's styling was functional but forgettable, with few design elements that set it apart from other station wagons of the time. The interior was similarly utilitarian, with basic features that offered little in the way of comfort or luxury. For buyers looking for a stylish and comfortable family car, the Comet Villager offered little to excite the senses. The practical aspects of the 1963 Comet Villager were also underwhelming. While it did provide the basic functionality expected of a station wagon, such as ample cargo space and seating for the whole family, it failed to excel in any particular area. The cargo capacity was adequate, but not exceptional, and the overall build quality of the car was mediocre, leading to durability concerns over time. For consumers, the Comet Villager simply did not offer enough value to justify its purchase, especially when compared to other station wagons that provided more power, better design, and greater versatility. As a result of these shortcomings, the 1963 Mercury Comet Villager failed to make a significant impact in the market. Sales were disappointing, and the vehicle was quickly overshadowed by more successful models from both Mercury's competitors and within Ford's own lineup. The lack of a clear identity or standout features meant that the Comet Villager was easily forgotten, and it did not take long for it to fade into obscurity. In hindsight, the 1963 Mercury Comet Villager represents a missed opportunity for Mercury to make a mark in the station wagon segment. The vehicle's lack of power, uninspired design, and overall mediocrity ensured that it would be quickly forgotten, both by the car-buying public and by automotive historians. Today, the Comet Villager is largely a footnote in the history of Mercury, remembered primarily by those with a keen interest in the brand's more obscure models. In conclusion, the 1963 Mercury Comet Villager is a reminder of the challenges automakers faced in creating vehicles that could stand out in a competitive market. Despite its practical intentions, the Villager's lack of performance, design flair, and overall appeal made it a commercial failure, and it quickly faded from memory as more capable and compelling vehicles took its place. Next up is the 1961 Plymouth Valiant, a car that became infamous for its divisive design and mechanical issues. As Plymouth's entry into the compact car market, the Valiant was intended to offer an affordable and practical option for buyers looking for a small, economical vehicle. However, despite its promising start, the Valiant quickly ran into trouble due to its polarizing appearance and persistent reliability problems. The 1961 Plymouth Valiant was introduced as part of Plymouth's effort to compete in the burgeoning compact car segment, which was becoming increasingly popular in the early 1960s. The Valiant was designed to be a more affordable alternative to larger, more expensive models, aimed at providing buyers with a practical vehicle that didn't compromise on basic features. At first glance, the Valiant seemed to fit the bill. It was compact, relatively affordable, and offered a basic but functional design. However, the Valiant's design proved to be one of its most contentious features. Its front end, characterized by a large distinctive grille and unusual headlight arrangement, was polarizing, with many observers finding it unattractive. The car's overall appearance did not resonate well with the public, and the Valiant's styling became a point of criticism in automotive reviews and consumer feedback. While some buyers appreciated the car's bold design choices, others found it off-putting, contributing to a lukewarm reception. The design issues were compounded by mechanical problems that plagued the Valiant. One of the primary concerns was with its engine, which, despite being a new design for Plymouth, suffered from reliability issues. The engine was prone to overheating and had a reputation for underperformance, which undermined the Valiant's appeal as a dependable compact car. Additionally, the transmission system was often criticized for its lack of smoothness and frequent malfunctions, further eroding confidence in the Valiant's overall reliability. These mechanical issues were particularly problematic for a car that was marketed as an economical and practical choice for budget-conscious buyers. The Valiant's reliability woes meant that it did not deliver on its promise of providing a trouble-free ownership experience, and this discrepancy between marketing and reality made it a tough sell. Prospective buyers who were drawn to the Valiant by its advertised affordability and practicality were often disillusioned by the car's real-world performance and maintenance problems. The 1961 Plymouth Valiant's difficulties were further exacerbated by the fact that the compact car market was becoming increasingly competitive. As other manufacturers introduced more refined and reliable compact models, the Valiant struggled to keep pace. The car's design and mechanical issues made it less attractive compared to competitors that offered better performance and more appealing aesthetics. Despite these challenges, the Valiant did have its share of successes. It helped establish Plymouth as a player in the compact car market and laid the groundwork for future models. However, the 1961 Valiant is often remembered for its shortcomings rather than its achievements. The combination of an unappealing design and mechanical problems ensured that it did not make the impact that Plymouth had hoped for. In conclusion, the 1961 Plymouth Valiant represents a significant but ultimately flawed attempt to enter the compact car market. Its polarizing design and persistent mechanical issues undermined its appeal and made it a difficult sell for many buyers. While it played a role in shaping Plymouth's compact car strategy, the Valiant's failures serve as a reminder of the challenges faced by automakers in creating vehicles that could both captivate consumers and deliver reliable performance. At number 8 is the 1967 Rambler Rebel ST, a car that fell short of American Motors Corporation's AMC ambitious expectations. Introduced as part of AMC's Rebel lineup, the SST variant was intended to be a sportier, more dynamic version of the Rebel. However, the Rebel SST failed to live up to its promise, struggling with lackluster performance and uninspired design. The 1967 Rambler Rebel SST was envisioned as a mid-size car that could offer both style and performance. AMC aimed to create a vehicle that could compete with the more exciting models from other manufacturers. The SST was meant to inject some sportiness into the Rebel line, but it didn't quite hit the mark. One of the primary issues was the Rebel SST's performance, which was notably underwhelming. Despite being equipped with a V8 engine, the car struggled with sluggish acceleration and a lack of responsiveness. The engine did not provide the level of performance that buyers were looking for in a sportier model, and the handling was equally disappointing. The Rebel SST's driving dynamics were far from thrilling, making it a letdown for those seeking a more engaging driving experience. In addition to its performance issues, the 1967 Rebel SST suffered from a lack of visual appeal. The car's styling was unremarkable and failed to capture the vibrant and distinctive designs that were characteristic of many 1960s vehicles. While some might argue that the Rebel SST had a certain understated charm, it did not have the flair or aggressive styling that could set it apart from its competitors. The car's design was practical, but lacked the pizzazz that could have made it stand out in a crowded market. The Rebel SST's shortcomings were particularly evident in the context of the fierce competition of the 1960s. During this period, the automotive market was dominated by a range of exciting and innovative vehicles that captured the public's imagination. Cars from manufacturers like Ford, Chevrolet, and Pontiac were pushing the envelope with bold designs and powerful engines. In comparison, the Rebel SST's more subdued approach seemed lackluster, and it was quickly overshadowed by more dynamic and visually striking competitors. The Rebel SST's inability to compete effectively in terms of performance and design meant that it struggled to gain traction in the market. Sales were disappointing, and the car did not make a significant impact on the automotive landscape. As a result, the 1967 Rambler Rebel SST is often remembered as a missed opportunity for AMC, representing a car that had the potential to succeed, but ultimately fell short of expectations. In retrospect, the 1967 Rambler Rebel ST serves as a reminder of the challenges faced by automakers trying to carve out a niche in a competitive market. Despite AMC's efforts to create a sportier and more appealing version of the Rebel, the SST's performance issues and lackluster styling meant that it did not resonate with buyers. The car's failure to make a lasting impression has led it to be largely forgotten, overshadowed by more successful and memorable vehicles from the same era. Next on our list is the 1966 Ford Mustang GT350H, often referred to as the Rent A Racer. This model was part of a unique collaboration between Ford and Hertz, aimed at giving rental customers a taste of high-performance driving. While the idea was innovative, the execution left much to be desired and resulted in a troubled reputation for the GT350H. The 1966 Ford Mustang GT350H was a special edition of the already popular Shelby GT350, modified specifically for Hertz's rental fleet. The plan was to offer a performance-oriented vehicle to customers looking for a thrilling driving experience. With a 289 cubic inch V8 engine and a range of performance enhancements, the GT350H was designed to be a high-octane ride, fitting the mold of a true American muscle car. However, the rental program for the GT350H did not go as smoothly as Ford and Hertz had hoped. Many of these cars were subjected to aggressive driving and harsh treatment by rental customers, which took a toll on their condition. The high-performance nature of the GT350H meant that it was more susceptible to wear and tear when driven hard, and many of the cars returned to Hertz in a state of disrepair. This not only affected the individual vehicles, but also damaged the overall reputation of the GT350H. The car's association with the rental fleet contributed to its mixed reputation during the 1960s. While the idea of a high-performance rental car was appealing in theory, the reality was less glamorous. The GT350H became known for its frequent mechanical issues and the poor condition in which many of them were returned. This tarnished the image of the vehicle and led to disappointment among enthusiasts and consumers who had high expectations for a car of its pedigree. Despite these issues, the 1966 GT350H has achieved a different status in the collector car world. Over time, the car's association with Hertz and its unique history have added to its allure among collectors. The GT350H is now seen as a rare and intriguing piece of automotive history, and examples in good condition are highly sought after by enthusiasts. However, this collector's status contrasts sharply with the car's more troubled past, reflecting a classic case of a vehicle that was not fully appreciated in its own time. In summary, the 1966 Ford Mustang GT350H, or Rent-A-Racer, is an example of a well-intentioned automotive venture that faced significant challenges. While it was designed to offer an exciting driving experience through a rental program, the reality of the car's rental history led to a tarnished reputation. Today, the GT350H's unique story and collector appeal offer a different perspective on its legacy, but its troubled rental program remains a notable chapter in its history. Rounding out our list is the 1965 Chevrolet Chevelle 300, a model that highlighted the disparity between Chevrolet's popular Chevelle line and its entry-level offerings. The Chevelle 300 was introduced as the most basic variant in the Chevelle lineup, aimed at providing a more affordable option for budget-conscious buyers. However, this entry-level model struggled to capture the essence of its more upscale siblings and ultimately failed to make a significant impact in the market. The 1965 Chevrolet Chevelle 300 was designed to be a no-frills vehicle that offered basic transportation at a lower price point, while the Chevelle name was associated with a range of stylish and powerful vehicles. The 300 series was stripped of many of the features that made its more expensive counterparts appealing. The car's design was utilitarian, lacking the visual flair and sophistication found in higher trims. It was characterized by a plain, unremarkable exterior and a Spartan interior that emphasized function over form. Under the hood, the Chevelle 300 was similarly uninspired. The base engine options were modest and did not offer the performance or excitement that many buyers sought from the Chevelle nameplate. The lack of powerful engine choices and performance enhancements meant that the 300 was often overshadowed by its sportier and more powerful siblings. This performance disparity made the Chevelle 300 less attractive to enthusiasts and consumers who were drawn to the Chevelle's reputation for muscle and style. The stripped-down nature of the Chevelle 300 extended to its features and amenities. While higher trims of the Chevelle line offered a range of comfort and convenience features, the 300 was notably basic. It lacked many of the options and upgrades that could have enhanced its appeal, making it feel like a less polished and less refined version of the Chevelle. This lack of differentiation in both design and performance made the Chevelle 300 a forgettable entry in Chevrolet's lineup. As a result of its modest offerings and unremarkable design, the 1965 Chevelle 300 struggled with sales and was quickly overshadowed by more popular models within the Chevelle range. It did not achieve the same level of acclaim or recognition as its higher trim counterparts and faded into obscurity. The Chevelle 300 is often remembered as a car that did not live up to the legacy of the Chevelle name, and its lack of distinguishing features and performance made it a less memorable part of Chevrolet's automotive history. In summary, the 1965 Chevrolet Chevelle 300 represents a more basic and less exciting facet of the Chevelle line. While it provided an affordable option for buyers, it lacked the power, style, and features that define the more desirable Chevelle models. The Chevelle 300's unremarkable design and performance, combined with its lack of distinguishing characteristics, contributed to its status as a largely forgotten and overlooked vehicle in the Chevelle lineup. And there you have it, 10 of the dumbest and worst cars in America from the 1960s. While some of these cars have become collector's items, they're still remembered for the wrong reasons. Which one do you think was the worst? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.